Now what we've done, having cleared all of the space away with the previous bracket, we've put on the new bracket that comes with the DIR rack. A couple of bolts go in the bottom for the bracket assembly, and then this support bar is positioned in the top hole with the bolts and spacers provided. The spacers came actually attached to the bolt, just held on with cable ties, so that you couldn't make a mistake over the positioning of them. So that's that assembly in place. It has to be tightened up. There are torque settings given in the instructions. And the other thing we do is just make sure that that bracket is lined up neatly in line with the hinge. I do like the way the kinetic yellow comes through the cutouts there with the DIR on it. I think that looks good, and I always think black and that kinetic yellow look really good together. So torque wrench, just to make sure we get the settings right, they're given in the instructions. They vary by bolts, but they're between, I think it's 35 and 45 Newton meters. So we don't want to be over tightening that. And I would always say if something gives a torque setting, use it, don't guess it. Leave that to the engineers. Now when we're securing the center bolt actually reuses the nut that we took off earlier. Be very, very careful when you're putting that nut back in the hole, because if you lose it, it's a nightmare to try and dig it out of there. How do I know this? I know this because that's what's just happened to me. We've also now repeated that process, and we fitted the top hinge. Same thing again, bolt top and bottom, and the middle bolt is supported using the nut that we removed in the earlier part of the fitting process. Okay, so after all of the brackets have been fitted, the next job is to position the ladder. Straightforward, the ladder goes outside the brackets top and bottom, and what you've then got to do is just play about with it, as we would say in Scotland, sugar it about a bit until it lines up nicely with all the various different panel lines, but also most importantly it lines up so that the top bracket sits against the door. Now it's not sitting there at the moment because that's the last thing that we need to do. Once everything else has been tightened, and I've already temporarily made sure that this bracket's in the right place, I've taken the backing off the self-adhesive tape that's on the back of it to stop it moving about, and the last thing that we're going to do is just to push that against the side of the body of the vehicle, and then we can tighten up those final two bolts. So we've made all final adjustments, and you can see that top bracket, which isn't actually bolted through the door, is sitting absolutely flush against the door. The bracket itself is rock solid. The securing point's absolutely firm. It's going nowhere. I've already climbed all over it. And when we step back, you can see it follows the line of the vehicle at the back, and it also follows the line of the rear door. Finally, at the end of an exercise like this, I always like to have a look at the bits that are left over, just to make sure that they are as they should be. Of course, we've taken off the brackets, we've taken out all of the bolts, which of course have been replaced by the bolts that came in the kit, taken off the plastic covers, which are no longer required, and that extra single bolt is the bolt that was mounted on the bottom right hand corner of the spare wheel carrier, which again of course has been replaced by a bolt in the kit. And there we have it. I'm really happy. The exercise took, again, a little bit longer than it should have because of doing the videoing. It takes a bit of skill, and in particular a bit of confidence to remove these screws and brackets and things like that, but it looks great. Fantastic, really happy with that. Just a couple of very final comments. I forgot to put some of the plastic caps that come in the kit on, apologies. And the other thing is, I always like to know at the end of the day, if I want to remove the roof rack, that I can put the vehicle back to the way that it was. And I'm comfortable I can do that, because whilst we have retained the body of the screws that hold these brackets on in the car, it would be very easy to find another way, an alternative way to look at these brackets, or indeed to tap the screw holes. So I'm confident that the whole thing could be removed, the vehicle could be returned to standard, and there would be absolutely no visual signs that either the roof rack or the ladder had been fitted